Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Plan Commission ARB for November 7th. Anyone listening or anyone here, please silence your phones if you're in the council chambers. If you want to speak, please raise your hand and we'll let you in. So with that, let's start with the roll call. Ryan?
Steve Lichtenfeld.
Here.
Carolyn Gatus.
Here.
Bob Denlow. Ellen DeFate.
Here.
Kami Walden.
Here.
David Gibson.
Here.
Ira Berkowitz.
Okay, we have minutes from the previous meeting on October 17th. Are there any changes? No. Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll get started on our extensive agenda tonight. Let's start with new business number 1, 7401 Clayton Road. Ryan?
So this property is located at the northwest corner of the intersection of Clayton and Audubon. It is zoned R2 and developed with a single-family home. The site's location on the corner results in frontage requirements on both its south and east setbacks. The project consists of replacing an existing section of fence that falls within the east setback. This section to be replaced is a 17-foot section that runs from the northeast corner of the home to Audubon. New fence will feature, or it will be the same height as the existing fence, will be made of metal rather than the existing wood. This use of black metal is similar to that of an existing railing above the home's garage on a terrace. There are no proposed changes to the existing landscaping or fencing that runs parallel to Audubon. Double frontage is common along Audubon with intersections roughly every 2 lots on the west side. Properties take a variety of approaches with a combination of wood or metal fencing, landscaping, or no screening at all. A minority of properties have a combination of materials similar to those proposed in this project. Staff is of the opinion that the proposed fence conforms to the architectural guidelines in the surrounding area and recommends approving as submitted.
Okay, thank you. The applicant, come on up, Fred.
Good evening. My name is Fred Powers. I'm occupant resident with my wife at 7401 Clayton Road. So I'm here to answer any questions that you might have or any comments.
Well, actually, it's pretty clear cut to me. I would say it'll be a big improvement for your yard and for the neighborhood. So I really don't have anything else, but let's go around. Carolyn.
I didn't have anything either. It looks great.
Helen.
Looks good.
Amy.
Yeah, definite improvement.
Thank you.
It's great.
Bob.
Nice addition.
David.
Nothing to add.
Okay. Well, we do have a staff recommendation to approve as submitted. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve as submitted. All in favor? Or,
Second.
sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, you're on the way.
Thank
When
you.
will we see it?
That's a good question. I will call them tomorrow and we'll get on their schedule. I hope before the end of the year.
Good luck.
Thank you.
It's awfully cold this weekend.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on to item 2, 7732 West Biltmore.
So this property is located on a short block of West Biltmore that's just northwest of the intersection of Clayton and Hanley. It's zoned R2 and developed with a single-family home. This project consists of expanding the existing driveway and expanding a rear parking pad and adding a retaining wall. The new concrete pour will match the existing sidewalks similar to other properties. The retaining wall will be Rockwood Vintage 6, which has a variety of earth tone colors, contains rolled edges, and blocks of various sizes, which conforms to the architectural guidelines for new retaining walls. The proposal will result in a total lot coverage of 46.5%, which falls below the 55% limit. Staff is of the opinion that the proposal is compatible with both the architectural guidelines and the surrounding area and recommends approval as submitted.
Okay. Is the applicant here? No? Jane Sharp for 7732 West Biltmore.
in attendees? Stay on the attendees list?
Is anyone attending virtually for 7732 West Biltmore? No. Let's. Can we just hold it till the end? Hold off on that. And let's move to item 3, 8027 Forsyth Boulevard. And the applicant is here. So let's start on that.
So this proposal is for a signed sub-district at the Forsyth Point development just northeast of the intersection of Forsyth and Brentwood. All signage proposed falls along or below the building's brow, and this brow is an architectural distinction between the ground floors and the parking garage above. The plan provides specific placement and materials and dimensions. Dimensions provided are for a maximum allowed. Other design elements may vary based on the sign category or tenant needs. A table of different sign categories has been provided in the staff report, which was provided to the board prior to the meeting and is available on the city's pending applications page. Many of the signs categories conform to the existing requirements. So for the purpose of this meeting, I'll just summarize 3 sign types that do not meet existing requirements or have not provided enough information. So the office tenant IDs are proposed at 4 locations along the brow and are available to office tenants within the towers. The proposed maximum square footage is 50 square feet, which exceeds the city's maximum of 25 allowed for multi-tenant offices. Although this exceeds the maximum, staff is of the opinion that it remains proportional based on the dimensions of the tower, architectural elements, and facade coverage of 5% maximum, and as well as nearby structures. Retail tenant blade signs are available to ground floor retail tenants with street entrances, and these will be positioned on the outer pillars that form the building's arcade. The signs are proposed to total 4 square feet, which exceeds the maximum of 1 square foot for blade signs. Staff is of the opinion that the 4 square foot maximum is proportional based on their positioning higher up on the pillars and along the highly trafficked Forsyth Boulevard. Pedestrians and vehicles may also be more reliant on the blade signs due to the shielding of the wall signs, which are maybe shielded by the arcade of the building. The building's address numbers are proposed to be mounted on columns on the south elevation with halo illumination. Renderings and materials were provided, however, specific dimensions were not. Staff is of the opinion that the applicant should provide the dimensions for the address numbering prior to codifying the sign plan. To conclude, staff is of the opinion that the proposed signage is compatible with the surrounding character in terms of size, materials, and design. The proposal creates consistency in placement and materials across various sign types. Staff recommends approval on the condition that the applicant update the sign plan to include their intended dimensions for the address numbering.
Okay, thank you. Would the applicant like to speak and lead us through it?
All right. Bear with me for
Welcome
1 second.
back.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Sorry about that. All right. Again, Scott Haley with U.S. Capital Development, and I appreciate being here and always glad to come. And this time, last time we were here, we were on some of the architectural elements here. We're looking at our master signage plan. Ryan did a good job of kind of outlining some of those components. With me tonight on the Zoom, Allie Stevens is one of our project managers. And she's intimately knowledgeable about this. Steve with ASI, he's been very, very instrumental in helping us navigate what we think is an owner, a tenant, and what the city's regulations are on this, and trying to meld those to have a win-win-win for everybody involved. And I think we've done a good job there. And I'm not sure if he's on, but Denny Holzer with Commerce Bank. He's their project leader for Commerce. And And so anyway, that's our team tonight. I think I could briefly go through. I think we distributed some packets and I think they read pretty well, but if you'd like for me to kind of walk through them, I'm happy to do so.
We would like that.
Sure. Ryan, could you help go through some of those images or do you not have that there? So, well, yeah, there, oh yeah, perfect. So if we kind of click down, I mean, the overall, if maybe you go back just if you can, just, I think with the building, it's a large building and we tried to, I want to say maximize the signage. We tried to do it in a way that maximizes the benefit to both the traveling public, the occupants of the building, and be respectful of the architecture. So I think we'll kind of reference those as we go, but obviously the corner provides a lot of scenarios. On the elevations, on the next one, maybe a little hard to see, but I'm sure most of you have looked at it or read it before, but the office ID tenant sign location is obviously, we're respectful of not asking for anything above that eyebrow area just because of what the protocol has been throughout the city about not having roof line type signage for major occupants. However, we position those in a way that it does maximize visibility for those folks, both on the Eastern or Commerce Tower and on to the West Tower, which is the Foresight Point USCD Tower. Throughout there, we tried to, with the arcade is a unique aspect, and you can see in the center ones, we looking at identifying some retail opportunity signage that one can be, lit underneath the arcade, as well as incorporating the blade signs that are up and down the Foresight Point Boulevard. There's a couple on Brentwood, and then we'll see there'll be one on the Merrimack side. We found that the blade side, is trying to be seeing that identified here in Clayton, elsewhere on I'm going to say the Saline Salon apartment building. I think they've done a great job to be able to respectfully identify signage and identification for people walking down the sidewalk. I think they've done a good job there. We're taking that same idea, not putting it under the arcade, but actually putting it on the columns at the face of the property line there to give people actually on the sidewalk, not on the arcade, to see and add some interest to it as well. So I think that's a unique aspect to it as well. We also have, we do have some garage ID signage that identifies the only entrance it's on the public right of way, and that's on the Foresight side. The remaining two entrances are located on the east-west alley on the north side of the project. Feel free to stop me at any time. If you go to the next elevation.
Scott, before you go
Yes, sir.
further, where we have the retail tenant IDs, it shows 3 of them, which are recessed behind the arcade.
Yes.
Couldn't there be more?
There could be more. There could, that's a great question because that bay is designed to be, it's laid out about 8,300 square feet. Right now, we're working towards, trying to not subdivide it into 2 or 3 or 4, which it could be. But we identified the signage which we thought would be appropriate for that location, regardless if it's 3 bays or 1 bay, so yes, I mean, it's a large area, but we've identified what we think the signage would want to be there.
Well, I like it, but I also see spaces either side of those 3 that have no signage, but they could. that true?
Yeah, it could be. I think there's a branding opportunity there, but at this point, we weren't requesting that. We've gone back and forth. I don't think, I think a lot of it's going to be dependent on who that actual user will be, and how they want to sign or identify their location. So are you thinking that since it's a master plan, we should be able to identify additional on the flanking portions?
I would think if there are any potentials for it, you should have it as a potential in there. You don't have to use every
Certainly,
location.
certainly. No, I think we would love that opportunity if the board would want to consider that. Because right now, nobody really knows what that is right now, but I think it's a great suggestion.
And then another question, above the centered on the west tower, we have a retail tenant sign on the eyebrow, on the brow. So that's the only retail tenant sign that is not recessed behind the arcade. Is that correct?
That is correct. The rationale with that location is that there is no real location for that signage for that. Between the door and that, it's very narrow and really problematic to try to place a sign, let's say, above those double doors there. And so identifying as a potential, that would be the most appropriate location that would be there. We're showing it there.
It makes it equal in importance to the office tenant ID, which is just to the west.
Well, it's on the same line. The office identification or the office tenant would be larger in size than what that would be allowed or what we're suggesting.
Roughly up to 100% larger. Correct.
And again, looking at that, I think that, not having the opportunity like we do elsewhere along Merrimack or on Brentwood or the other location just makes it more difficult to try to appropriately brand that spot for someone.
Well, I agree. I don't see any other appropriate spot for that retail tenant sign.
Okay.
It seems like it would be nicer to have that brow a little cleaner.
Understood. And believe me, we've gone back and forth for several months trying to figure out what the most appropriate way and actually we believe, let's put it this way. If once we have an identified user, we finalize something here, that signage may be reduced or done something in terms of more of a vinyl or, some type of signage on the glass rather than that. But at this point, I think that we've done the best we can for that specific location.
Well, let's see you get the retail filled.
Yeah.
And then I don't think I'd worry about it.
Yeah. I'm with you there. Did you have any more questions on this page?
I didn't, unless anyone else did.
Yes, I do. Looking at that same sheet, the south elevation, on the east side, you have the office tenant ID. And then just to the left of that, you have vinyl retail tenant ID. So why doesn't that retail tenant get the same as the retail tenant at the other end? The sign on the eyebrow.
That glass is in, the differences between the two, the glass that is above the western one where we were just talking about, That's the glass. It's etched. It's got a design to it. It's different than the glass. If you go there now, that glass is full height. And so rather than putting a sign on the eyebrow, there's an opportunity, which we don't have over here, to be able to have like a vinyl sticker, or I say sticker, that sounds cheap, but something like what Tony's did, or something like that, that's in a, or, you know, something that mimics, you know, something that I think is different than putting the sign on the eyebrow. That opportunity is different than what we have to the west.
Okay.
Anyone else? Jamie?
Quick question about the retail sign. If the retailer that's in there has like a logo, or is that going to change, or is it still going to be the aluminum letters on the eyebrow? Are they going to do their like colors or their logo or anything else?
I think it could be a combination, you know, of that. I think as long as we're, you know, meeting the square footage, I think there are some limitations on it based on the depth of the eyebrow, or the depth of the area underneath the arcade. So it could be a logo. It could be the font of that retailer or company or restaurant. So that's why we really have no identification of what that is other than the square footage. So.
Okay, so like the aluminum channel letter that you've listed on the chart, like the retail tenant ID, that's just.
If it was a logo too, if I can speak.
Yeah.
If it was a logo too, it would be fabricated the same way. So
Okay.
again, what Scott was saying is we're very limited in height. So whatever we do is going to have to be more horizontal in nature. So it's more likely going to be more typography than logos, unless somebody has a logo that, you know, typically that would be typography. There's a little icon or something, but in that case, it would be the same.
Okay, but it would be a little bit more colorful and a little bit different across like that facade than kind of what you're showing.
Well, yeah. So you don't have the
Okay.
tenants, just kind of showing basically what the square footage looks like.
Okay.
So it's pretty boring and crap.
Yes. Thank you.
I've been to several retail developments where the typeface was the same, even though it was a brand name, just to keep the building looking nice and clean. Have you considered that and not even had, I mean, do we have to worry about, like, say, you know, sorry, Twitter, but Twitter's coming in and the little birdie has to go up there and, you know what I mean? I mean, as long as it's tasteful, I mean, we don't want like Chick-fil-A red going up, right? Or,
Chick-fil-A blue or something. No, but no, I hear what
well,
you're
you know what I'm saying?
No,
I mean,
yeah,
people
right.
will know that what it is. It's not,
But we do have on the East Tower, we do have Commerce Bank. They have their own, you know, typology for their signage and their, you know, so, and then the other major, you know, on one corner and the other.
you're going to change the fonts, is what
We-
you're saying.
We would probably, I know that Commerce would be using their font for that. Hush Blackwell has their very signature font that they use. I mean, so trying to maintain picking one font for any of the 3 or 4 signs, I think would take away from it and not, you know, give some expression if we're only limited to the eyebrow. So.
When we see 2 office tenant ID signs at the corners, would that be 1 office tenant ID on both sides or 2 office tenants?
It'll be, well, yes. It could be 1, it could be 2 separate ones for each tower. Each tower would be limited to a maximum of 2 signs on those eyebrows.
So these are really in lieu of a ground mounted pedestal sign that we see elsewhere.
Correct. What you're seeing, and we'll get to that here, but let's say, you know, Commerce has 2 different tenants, 2 different signs. We anticipate 2 different tenants, 2 different signs in the West Tower. We have in this location looked at as an alternative here for mounting our tenant signs, what you would normally see on one of the side walls down there, and you'll see that further back in here.
Yeah, I had seen that. But that, you said that would be an alternative.
Right, we do have, and I'll let maybe Steve speak to that as well. But let me go back on these. So. Do we want to jump right? Let's. All right. Oh, I know. Go to number 2. Yes. All right, so you're looking at that is the west elevation that we're looking at. We have signage that is on the eyebrow for the retail, which steps down from the office on that side. We also show the public parking ID. If you're coming into the public parking off the alley, that's the identifier that the city uses. We also identify an alternative retail ID sign that would be in the glass, similar to the glass area that was referenced on the east tower. In terms of, we show a location. See, what page is that on?
You mean the monument sign?
Yeah, yes.
Page 9.
Yeah,
I think
page.
it's second to the last.
Yeah. We're looking at, you want to maybe talk about these. So, I mean, we're wanting to do this as a way that can be mounted to the sidewall potentially. It's a way to identify the tenants equally throughout. If it's if we have multi-tenanted floors, we'll have 3 or 4 others there. And that way allows for us to be able to control the signage and keep that area cleaner than maybe having something else potentially.
Now, this one you were thinking about standardizing the typography. right?
Yes.
Yeah, so, this one, so again, these were just gonna be individual light boxes that.
Can you just come over to the microphone so that it
Yeah.
picks up the recording?
Yeah, so these were gonna be individual light boxes with illuminated text at night. We would come up with a standard typography that would just work for all again, the 4 major building tenants that would be in the building. And also just have the building name there. So pretty simple on that one wall.
So could one of those tenants, say tenant A, be the same as the office tenant ID on the eyebrow?
That is exactly the intent.
Yeah, and those, I mean, we're talking.
It's really meant for pedestrian use. So again, the ones on the eyebrow are meant for the vehicular use, and then these are really meant for somebody be underneath that little walkway.
Yeah,
So,
you almost have to be in that plaza.
yeah,
Entry plaza there.
yeah. So, yeah, you wouldn't see the eyebrows if you're kind of walking underneath the plaza there. So,
Do you think that each of the 2 towers might be called by their major tenant name? Commerce Tower on the east, the Hush Tower on the west, because they are so prominent on the brow at the corner on 2 sides.
I mean, even though Hush is in that building, they're taking most of the space, it's still the Commerce Tower to everybody that we talk to, including the owners. But I think people do identify as the Bank of America building or this tower or that tower. And it's usually by one of the lead tenant on that. So, and on the primary side, that's usually going to be the Foresight.
Hey, Ryan, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I just wanted to make a clarification that Hush Blackwell is also in the same tower that Commerce Bank is in. So Hush's signage will be on the same tower that Commerce's signage is. We have not identified a major tenant on the west tower yet.
And that was Ally with USCD, so.
So then does that mean that the two office tenant signs that are on both sides of the corner, one would be Hush and one would be Commerce potentially?
Yes.
I misunderstood before. But we don't know who's in the West Tower yet.
We haven't made that decision yet. Yeah.
I feel better now with the multiple office tenant IDs and the potential of it being repeated on one of the wall signs.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I hate using other people's work or examples, but there's other monument signs that are 12 feet tall and they only got 4-inch vinyl letters. We got a lot of stuff going on, with our art piece and all that. We were trying to minimize, and even if we did something, it'd be shorter anyway, rather than just having some big, monolithic piece of stainless steel or something like that. So.
Okay, sorry to break in.
No worries.
Continue.
I think, in terms of, I think we've touched upon all the type of signs on here that that were referenced in the plan and in the memo. And reading the staff recommendation, we do agree with having the appropriate increase in square footage. I think complements what we're trying to achieve here and is not egregious or offensive. So we agree with how this was outlined and in the report and how Ryan referenced it this evening. Is there any other? Oh, I guess the address numbering. If you look on here on page, oh, there you go, perfect. This is an exhibit that in the evening, that's a night illustration that will allow both addresses at each corner, only on the Forsyth side, to be illuminated. And then during the day, they'll just be a regular, numeric sign. That just gives some reference to people who are, I want to say walking, the people who are coming into Clayton to know where they're at. We were suggesting that each letter would be about 19.5 inches, maybe may go a little smaller, but we're requesting 19.5 inches for that, for each number there. And then we may scale that down to be a little bit to 17 or 16 inches once we do another round of dry mock on the column itself. But those 3 or 4 inches difference in what we ultimately go in, we won't exceed the 19.5 inches what we're showing here tonight. Right.
You say the color is to be determined. It looks dark. And could you refresh us on what color the column covers are?
The columns, if they are gray, they match the gray. I forget the actual architectural material there, but all those columns along the arcade are being wrapped. And it's a gray color. In terms of the letters, the numbers, we have not.
Going to be just like a dark metallic charcoal of some sort. I mean, they're going to be pitch black, but don't want the harshest black. But really.
So in the day, we'll read the number directly. At night, we'll read the number with the reflected light behind it.
Yeah.
You'll have good contrast.
If, Ryan, if you go back one slide, I think it shows more of a daytime. There it is.
We haven't touched on the blade signs yet.
Oh, the blade signs, that's, the blade signs, I think everybody in the team loves them. And I think everybody, retailers and everybody that we've been showing the space really finds it, one, an added benefit, but also kind of, way to appropriately let people know who are on the street. The bigger signs are going to be for people driving by, but people walking down the street, will be able to identify that. Because we have multiple entrances from the sidewalk into the arcade, and they're going to relate to, the appropriate location or entrance to those establishments. We show maybe more than what we're going to do, but I think that that's because we don't know exactly where they're going to go. It's similar to your comment about the number of signs on that larger Bay Area. So we find them attractive, and we think that they're going to be internally lit, with similar to, where there'd be a glow there, like I think the ones on Saline, sorry. Anyway, I think that they've been well received by everybody on the project team and anybody who's been on site looking at each of those bays.
They're very large.
2
feet by 2 feet. The ones over at Ceylon are quite a bit smaller, but the building mass is also smaller. My only concern about the size of them is that they may even overpower some of the other signage on the building.
Scott, if I may make a comment to that.
Yeah, Ally, please do.
So, like you said, the building mass is much larger. These signs will be up higher. We'll mount them considerably higher above the street than what the Ceylon development has. So I think with the size that we have, coupled with the height that they will be at, I don't believe the 2x2 will be that drastic of a notice, especially with the sheer amount that the project development is. And the height that is under the arcade. You'll be able to see it very clearly, but it won't be too much of an eyesore for walkers or even people driving down the street that I think it will make a big difference.
Ellie, the picture we're looking at, option 1,
Yes,
you see that?
I do.
Is that tenant name sign, is that 24 by 24 inches?
That is.
Did you say yes?
It should be.
Well, it should be or yes. Or no. We have a choice.
It is.
And I
It
will
is.
refer to Steve on that one.
Well, if that's a 6-inch riser on a stair. I don't know.
When I see that option 1, I think it looks fine.
Yeah, I mean, this is 17 inches by 17. I mean, I hear what you're saying. I think I think the vastness between our building and the ones across the street is it's wider than some of the north-south streets, like the other blades. I'm not even sure, they can't be that much smaller than what we're suggesting, but ours are higher just because one, just like theirs, they're over the city sidewalk, and so are ours. So, and I think it gives some visualization, especially as that street goes down, to be able to see it at a different vantage point as you're walking or driving down.
Yeah, those 4 stairs are 24 inches if you look at it in elevation. So that is perceived as smaller. I mean, it's drawn smaller than 24 inches right now. I'm not sure that makes a difference in my mind necessarily. It depends on how it's designed. I mean, could the sign actually be the gray and not be white like that?
I don't think it's white. I mean,
Okay.
we weren't, I don't think we're making it white at all.
Being a 2 foot by 2 foot pallet for that.
When you go down, but each one of those tenants, I mean, I think,
Central.
yeah, central, thank you. Yes, exactly. I think each one, and I'm not trying to sell the idea, but each one has their logo or, you know, I think it's just really kind of a, I hate to use the word cute concept, but it really does, I think, really adds something to it. And I envision us, we stole that from that to incorporate into here. So I think the 24 by 24 is appropriate. So that's where we're at today.
I think I'm okay with it, although as Carolyn was pointing out, it may be a little small on that option 1. But I did have another question, and that's about the circular P sign for parking. And am I reading it correctly that it would be parallel to both North Brentwood and Emaston, not be able to be seen as you're driving up or down either of those streets because it's really in the alley?
That is correct.
Seems like the wrong location.
Well,
It
it's,
seems like when a car is going north on North Brentwood and they're crossing Forsyth, they would want to see where the entrance of the garage is, which would mean that there should be a blue P sign sticking out like a
on Brentwood, on the Brentwood's elevation.
Brentwood, yeah, and the same on Bemiston. And I don't see one on Forsyth where the big entrance is.
Well, there's a couple components to that. One, the public spaces that is required as part of the project are accessed off the alley. So you enter that public parking lot area from the alley.
But how do you wayfind them there? I guess is the question.
Yeah. Well, I'm not disputing the question about if they needed to be on the Brentwood side. Steve or Ally, did we really bet that? I mean, I think we were just identifying the moniker for that look, for the entrance for that
The actual.
garage. Yeah.
The primary entrance is off.
For most of the or people coming in, the public parking though is off the alley. So.
I think it'll be very hard for people to find the public parking entrance because you virtually have to be driving by before you will see the P in the alley.
You don't turn your head? I know what you're saying. So you're,
I love it.
I know, having it there would be a moniker for somebody to say, all right, I got to make a right into the alley or make a left in the alley, depending on what street you're on.
But you may be beyond it by the time.
By the time, if you
realize-
don't have it there, you're right. So maybe that's something we can identify and talk about how we do that.
You need to look at it. And as Carolyn said, it's really a wayfinding.
Sure.
Issue.
And that's, yeah, definitely the right term.
Once people know, it'll be fine. but
Sure.
It's a matter of,
Yeah. And I think that is more for the people who are going to utilize the public parking that aren't going there every day or 3 times a
more
day.
important,
Yeah, so,
make sure.
yeah.
So then the way the garage works, if you were to enter on Forsyth, can you access the public parking?
You cannot, you have to go through the garage to the alley.
Oh, and then come back in.
Yeah,
At that western.
correct. So coming in, the public, that's what we, putting that on the Brentwood or Merrimack side makes sense to do, and we'll figure out a way on the wayfinding to do that, and we can work with staff to do such.
Yeah. Well, then I understand why you don't want to put it on Forsyth. Because they'd have to go all through the building, out to the
Sure.
alley, and once they get there, they don't know to go left or
Yeah.
right.
Well, I think one of the, early on in the project, not to get on the parking end of it, but, I really see the alley, that those two entrances being the primary entrance and exit for, especially exits leaving the facility, because you can make a right or left onto those, I want to say the side streets, not Forsyth. And I do think, as we talked about when we went through this, is that having those two entrances to unload or bring in, I think will be very key. And we, the alley's wider as part of the requirement of the project to do such. Now, people are going to certainly use the Forsyth entrance, but I think, we're all creatures of habit, and we realize the quickest way for me to go east, west, north, south, up or down, you're going to figure it out within the first week of being in that building. So, and it gives us multiple opportunities. And I think it's really trying to figure out the best way to get the public parkers to know where they need to go. And we'll look at that.
Okay.
Okay.
What else?
I'll take any more questions. I think we're,
I had a question about also can have RGB LED for color changing options. This page 5, but I think it's towards the end. There you go.
That was just a photo to.
Please come up to the microphone so you're recorded.
He's loud enough.
It was just an image that was dropped onto the page. I mean, those letters are the numbers will illuminate white in the evening. So this photo here was strictly put in to demonstrate the address numbers. Okay, so the one on the left was really how that's going to be made. So it'll be a dark, again, charcoal finish with that halo white in the evening.
Okay, so you're not proposing
No,
red
that's
or
that,
green for
no,
Christmas?
no, huh? No.
I'm not sure I would hate that, but I'm just saying. I was just asking for clarification. I know I'm tacky. What can I say?
We have anyone else in the virtual that has anything more to say? Bob? what
Bob's
about
shaking
you?
his head no, but
Oh,
No? Anyone else here? Carolyn? Helen? Kami? David? No? Okay, well, we've left you with a few things to think about. And we do have a recommendation to update the plan to include dimensions for the address numbering.
I was suggesting we make it 19.5 inches, and we will not exceed that. I think that's what we're referencing is 19.5 per number.
Is that what is shown to scale roughly?
I believe that's.
Yes, that is correct.
Ellie, yeah.
So 19.5.
Not
That
to
would be
exceed.
about 6.5 feet high. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we may choose to go small, we may choose to go smaller. We're, we talk about everything multiple times, and 2 or 3 inches may make a big difference, but we won't exceed the 19.5. So that's why we suggest keeping it 19.5. It's only going to go smaller if we want. We don't, again, we wanted for ourselves, we think dry mocking it, and if it's 16 inches, it's 16 or whatever. So,
Just to clarify, is that 19.5 per individual number?
yes.
Well, there again, those two numerical signs, they're part of the wayfinding for that building.
Sure, absolutely. We've gone back and forth. Do we put it on the above the front doors that are recessed there? And we found that doing this is
Oh, I like
much better. And I think it looks, for how the building's designed and everything, it adds to it. So thank you.
Also, I'd like to thank you for, in your renderings, giving us a feeling of the context that it sits in. We do see that there are buildings around it, which is good.
Sure, yeah.
We don't always see that.
Well, I think that goes to the point that we, I don't want to say debated, but we discussed when we were first approving this project was, we were showing the eyebrows and how they, from the adjoining blocks, if you remember, and how they related to each other. And I think that's a carry on from that conversation a few years ago.
Well, I think we have made all of our comments, and you have all the staff comments.
Yes.
We have that one recommendation. I guess you've already answered. So we have to do is have a motion.
Well, I want to ask a question. Should we, as part of the motion, declare it not to exceed 19.5 per our individual letter for the address signage?
Yes.
Maximum.
We're fine.
And then also revisit the parking signage to make wayfinding? All right,
That's
so
for
we've-
something to come back here, or is that something we can work with?
No, I think the
staff?
staff.
With staff.
Yeah, perfect.
All right, so I'll
You
make,
don't want to come back?
aw.
I always want to come back.
Good answer.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve with the amendment to the staff recommendation that the applicant shall update the plans to include dimensions for the individual numbers of the address signage not to exceed 19.5 inches per individual letter, sorry. And number two, that the applicant will revisit the parking signage to make wayfinding simpler and clearer for public parking.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
All right, thank you so much. Have a good evening.
thanks for coming.
Thank you, everyone.
Oh, okay. Yes, we'll go back to item number 2, 7732 West Biltmore. Jane, I believe you're it, but let's start with the staff report.
You want the summary one more time?
Sorry?
Are you wanting the summary one more time?
Yes.
So this property is located on a short block of West Biltmore, just northwest of the intersection of Clayton and Hanley. The property is zoned R2 and developed with a single-family home. The project consists of expanding the existing driveway, expanding the rear parking pad, and adding a retaining wall. The new concrete pour will match the existing sidewalks, similar to other properties. The retaining wall will be Rockwood Vintage 6, which has a variety of earth tone colors, contains rolled edges, blocks of various sizes, and conforms to the architectural guidelines. The proposal will result in a total lot coverage of 46.5%, which falls below the 55% limit. The staff is of the opinion that the proposal is compatible with both the architectural guidelines and the surrounding area and recommends approval as submitted.
Okay, thank you. Jane, do you have any further comments? Jane, do you hear us?
Muted.
If you're connecting through your phone as well, you may have to unmute there.
There is a question and answer.
Brian, could you answer that? Oh, now her hand is up. Jane, can you hear us now?
You should have the ability to speak already. I do see there's a phone number on there that was there before. If you are connecting through your phone as well, you'll have to unmute there. It shows that is muted.
What is the hand up saying?
Mhm.
Oh, there's two on there now. Q&A. But
So
there's
Ryan,
two.
are you saying that that phone number ending in 3036 could be hers?
Could be. It was on there before, whereas Jane was, the name Jane was not. Just another Q&A.
Tried.
Well, Jane, I don't know if you can hear us at all, but we'll go ahead based on the staff report. And let's see if we have any comments that you might be able to type in and answer. Carolyn?
I really didn't have any comments. I like what you're doing and I think you're following all the rules and regulations, so I have no comments.
Ellen?
No comments.
Amy?
No comments.
Bob?
No problem with the staff recommendation.
David?
No comments.
I went over there and looked at the property. I also have no comment. I think it'll be a big improvement and make it much more usable, especially with the wider driveway and the block retaining wall. So I'm okay with it. Jane, if you have anything to say, type it in and we can see it.
Can we type that back to her, what we just said? Can't hear us.
It appears that she can hear us.
Oh, okay.
Well, then we will assume that there's nothing more to say. And we will go with a motion. Oh, thanks for your response.
Okay, good. All right, I'll make a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Jane, good luck with the project. Okay, I think we have one more item left. And that is the schedule for next year. Are there any comments that we should be aware of?
No, I just wanted to share that with you. It's the only dates that are switched are due to holidays. So
It seems pretty simple this year. Any comments on it?
I only had one for the July 3rd. I can guarantee you I will not be making that. July 4th is the next day and I will be on Nantucket probably for a weekend and a day and whatever.
yeah, I think that will be one that we'll probably revisit
Yeah.
when it comes to the summer, unless the group right now wants us to make a different decision.
Nah, it's fine.
Okay. Do we have to approve this?
I think that's a good practice.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve our architecture review board schedule for next year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And any further comments, Amy,
No comment.
Ellen?
Nothing further.
Carolyn,
Nothing, thank you.
Bob,
No comment.
thanks for joining us. Hope you're doing
Pleasure.
okay. David,
Nothing tonight.
okay, we will stand adjourned.
Yeah, there's, I will send a follow-up email to all of you on the December Board of Alderman meeting, the 13th, is that right?
That's correct.
There will be an energy benchmarking discussion that the mayor and the Board of Aldermen have set up, and they're inviting you all to attend that. So we'll follow up with more information for you.
Okay.
We do that. The boards and commissions is Friday.
December 18th. That's correct.
Okay, any words of wisdom from the staff tonight?
No, we will have a little bit of a larger agenda at the next meeting, so hopefully we'll get you guys those packets early so you can read through it all.
Well, we will see you all then. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
To adjourn.
Oh, yes. Do we
I'll,
have a
I'll
motion?
make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.